Kenny Goff, and I live in the township senior community in Battlefield, Missouri. And I'm here to read you Maya's song, April 4, 1928. Marguerite Annie Johnson was born on an ordinary day at St. Louis, Wednesday caught between winter and spring. Her papa Bailey loved her so. Her mother Vivian loved her too. Her brother Bailey Jr. loved her the most. He called her Maya. She's Maya's sister, Maya new friend, Maya favorite person in the whole wide world. A black girl born in a world that didn't love black girls. Born in a nation divided. White folks over here, colored folks over there. A black girl born crying like all babies do. Hush now, Maya's mother whispered. Shh, Papa said. But her brother, he didn't mind the noise at all. Bailey let Maya cry as long as she needed. He thought maybe his baby sister was trying to tell him something. Figured a baby girl crying so much, so loud, must have something to say. Too grand for his own skin. A proud man, an educated man. Maya's papa spoke French and served in the Navy. Some of the white folks wanted Bailey Sr. to shrink himself till his confidence was as tiny as dust. They wanted him to look down at the ground when saying hello, but instead he looked them in the eye, held his hand out to shake theirs. Folks around town said Bailey Sr. was too grand for his own skin. Black men who didn't know how to stay in their place sometimes got spit on, sometimes got beat, sometimes disappeared, never to return to the people who loved them most. So Maya's papa moved the family to California, where he worked as a doorman and got paid to shake hands and look white guests in the eye. Papa told Maya, "We are a people of dignity. Don't ever hold your head down." In California, Maya's papa could be grand, tall as the towering palm trees. No way in the world they could make this grand man small. No way in the world he'd fight overseas for his country, only to come back home and not be free. One-way ticket. Maya was 3 years old when her mother and papa's marriage ended. Maya and Bailey were sent to Arkansas on a train to live with their grandma. They wore tags on their arms in case you get lost, their mama said. The train choo-chooed along, leaving behind California's always blue skies and no snow Christmases, leaving behind orange trees and lemon groves. As soon as the train pulled into Stamps, everything looked different, felt different. The yellow glow from the acid on the ponds, the way the air felt heavy and thick, the whites only signs on the doors of stores above the water fountains. Maya wasn't sure if she'd like it in Stamps. It didn't feel like home, but she kept her head up just like Papa taught her. Miss Annie's store. Everyone called Maya's grandma Miss Annie. Maya called her Mama. Mama never spent a dime on anything but land. She owned property that white folks lived on, and she owned a general store too. No whites only signs here. At Mama's store, everyone was welcome. In the early mornings, just as the sun tickled the sky, before the store opened, Maya stood in the middle of the lye-washed wooden floors and inhaled, taking in the smell of oranges, onions, and kerosene oil. She looked around at the shelves stocked with too many items to count: cans of sardines, boxes of soda crackers, peanut patties, All kinds of candies, thread, and flower seeds. Everything neatly stacked and in its place. By the time the sun was in full bloom, the store was a chorus of noise, people going in and out, the ding ding of the cash register, 5 cents for this and 10 cents for that. The store was more than a place for shopping. This was the heart of the town, a place where Negroes came for food to eat and to feed their soul. On Saturdays, barbers sat up in the shade on the porch and the men told tales, trying to outdo each other. Who was the bravest? Who was the strongest? Troubadours moaned their songs and played cigar box guitars. Maybe living in Arkansas wasn't so bad. Maya saw what love looked like up close. She was in awe of the kind of miracle her mama was. The daughter of former slaves, and now here she was, owning so much. Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings were putting on handmade dresses and patent leather shoes. Sunday mornings were for sitting on hard church pews, hymnal in hand, singing songs. Sunday mornings were for shouting amen and hallelujah when the pastor said, "We are all God's creation and God is love." On Sunday mornings, Maya had to hold back her giggles when the women got up to waving their hands and rocking from side to side, when the deacon who couldn't sing belted out a solo anyway. Sunday mornings were for listening to the preacher say, "We've come this far by faith, still got a long way to go." Sunday mornings were for learning how to keep on going, how to keep on and on. When letters came together, Mama had a friend who borrowed books from the white school. Most things were better at the white school. The books were new and no pages were missing. Mama used the books to teach Maya how to read. Maya practiced putting letters together, making sounds and words that painted pictures in her mind, taking her to faraway places. Maya buried the words of great poets and writers deep inside, deep inside. Word seeds from Shakespeare and Paul Laurence Dunbar. Word seeds from Langston Hughes and James Weldon Johnson. A whole garden of words growing inside. Uncle Willie. His face drooped down on the left side, his right hand bigger than the left. He stuttered and limped and used a cane, and he knew how to do math. He taught Maya her times tables, practiced with her day after day. Come on, do your threes. Now do your fours. Maya recited her timetables like a song, saying them faster and faster. Uncle Willie would say, "You sure are a smart little girl." "The smartest girl in town," said Bailey. And on they went, multiplying numbers, and on they went, multiplying their love. When night came, the sun exchanged places with the moon. And when night came, sometimes the white men on horses came too. They wore white hoods, and one night, Mama thought they might harm Uncle Willie. Maya and Bailey hid Uncle Willie in a crate and piled potatoes and onions on top of him. When the Klansmen came looking for Uncle Willie, they couldn't find him. Maya was proud of their clever ideas, but surely whatever meal they'd cook with those potatoes and onions would taste like sadness, like fear. After being soaked in Uncle Willie's tears. Caged in. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes darkness comes. Maya was 6 when she moved back to St. Louis to live with her mother. She rode the train with Bailey. When Maya was 7 years old, her mother's boyfriend hurt her body, hurt her soul. Don't tell nobody, he said. Don't say a word. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes darkness comes. Maya could not keep the pain inside. She told Bailey, and they cried and cried. And Bailey told their mother because he knew some secrets shouldn't be kept inside. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes darkness comes. The man who hurt Maya died a few days later, and Maya thought it was all because of her voice. If I had kept quiet, he'd still be alive. Maya bottled up all her words, caged them inside. A bad thing had happened. Darkness had come. How to listen. Maya kept all the words she knew to herself, no more feeling the buzz of the bee vibrator lips, no tongue against her teeth to say thank you or I love you. Not using her voice meant Maya's ears took in more sound. The chirp, chirp, chirping of birds, the rustling of wind tickling leaves, the tired sigh her mother let out at the end of a long day's work. Not using her voice meant Maya's eyes saw more. The way the sky swallowed the sun, always slow. She saw the look on her mother's face every time she tried to get Maya to speak. Say something, talk to me. But her brother never tried to get her to talk. He knew his sister would speak again when she was ready. Bailey sat with Maya on the porch, holding her head. Nothing spoke out loud, but still so much being said. Another goodbye, hello. Maya's mother thought maybe returning to Arkansas would take away Maya's sadness. So she sent her back. Bailey went too. Maya was excited to work at Mama's store again, and she knew Mama wouldn't try to make her talk. She knew Mama wouldn't expect anything from her except love. Silence. No words came out of Maya for 5 years. For 5 years, hundreds of thousands of words came in. What Mama Annie said. While Mama brushed Maya's hair and oiled her scalp, she whispered in her ear, listen, child, I know there's nothing wrong with you. I know the good Lord just letting your voice rest, 'cause he gonna have you using it all around the world. Listen, child, you gonna be a preacher, a teacher. You gonna travel the world, child. Yes, you are. Once you start speaking again, ain't nobody gonna be able to shut you up. What words do? Sometimes words get stuck in the throat. Sometimes words itch the tongue, beg to come out, rise, but then get swallowed by fear, by shame. Sometimes words nest in the mind, swirl round and round, tangle themselves with emotions, with memories. Sometimes words beat fast in the heart. Putter, putter, tap, tap, knock, they beg. To be spoken, to be heard. Sometimes words are patient. Like tiny seeds, they wait underneath the soil. They're in no hurry, no rush. When it's time, they will bloom. Poetry is meant to be spoken. Miss Flowers, a family friend, had Maya over for tea, cookies, and lemonade. You gonna talk to me today? She asked. Maya didn't say a word. Well, if you want talk, let's see what the poets have to say. Miss Flowers read poetry out loud to Maya. Every time they read poetry together, Miss Flowers noted Maya's smile, the light in her eyes. Maya, sweetheart, you seem to really love poetry, but you can't really love poetry until you say it out loud. Miss Flowers told Maya, you can't really love poetry till you speak it, till you let the words in you out. Rebirth. Maya took a poetry book and ran under the house where the chickens rested. She sat on top of the soft dirt, opened the book, opened her mouth, and words came out. First in a whisper, then in a shout. They leaped and danced and bloomed out of her, saying, listen, listen, we have something to tell you. How to build a world. Words poured out of Maya, and she felt revived. A whole world of words had been growing inside. She believed people became what they said, so she chose words carefully, planted powerful affirmations in her world. Words like forgive, like kind, words like brave, like powerful, like phenomenal, words like faith, like dream, like free. Unexpected blessings. Maya's world changed when she turned 16. In 1945, she had a son, Guy Bailey Johnson. Some folks around town shunned teenage mothers, but Maya's mother said, life is always a gift no matter when it comes. So Maya raised her baby boy, sometimes worrying, do I have what it takes to be a mother? She told herself over and over, believe in yourself. Trust you are enough. This is my story. This is my song. To earn a living and provide for her son, Maya wowed crowds with her singing and dancing at the Purple Onion nightclub in San Francisco. The audience knew jazz, but what was this new music Maya was singing? Have you heard the calypso? Listen to this Afro-Caribbean beat. Sing with me, sing with me. Maya brought Trinidad and Tobago to California in every song lyric and every note. Her deep voice filled the room. When the drums tap, 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 Maya's bare feet moved across the stage. Have you heard of calypso? Listen to the Afro-Caribbean beat. Move with me, move with me. Maya traveled with an ensemble of performers. Sometimes they teased her because of her raspy, deep voice. Maya's voice wasn't always pitch perfect, but it was always just right. She refused to hold her head down and sang louder and louder. A little girl from St. Louis had taken her voice and her songs to 22 countries. She traveled to Italy, France, Egypt, Israel, and Greece. In Morocco, each of the performers there were asked to sing a solo. They all sung opera, but Maya chose to sing a spiritual she learned as a little girl in Arkansas. I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow. I'm lost in this wide world alone. Sometimes I've tossed and driven and know not where to roam. I heard of a city called heaven. I hope to make heaven my home. The audience gave her a standing ovation, and Maya realized that even though she didn't have the voice others had, she had her songs, her stories, and that was enough. Harlem, the place of afros and raised fists, the place where hundreds flooded the streets to get a glimpse of Malcolm X preaching and teaching. Harlem, the place of amateur acts at the Apollo, jazz clubs, and dance halls. Harlem, Louis Miko, and the National Memorial African Bookstore, John Killens and the Harlem Writer's Guide, Langston Hughes and his dreams. Harlem, a new home for Maya, the place where she learned the power of not only speaking words, but writing them down. Brother Jimmy, Brother Martin. Maya loved James Baldwin and Dr. Martin Luther King with deep, deep love. They were more like sisters and brothers than friends. Jimmy was light in the darkest of rooms. Martin was water in a parched desert. Maya and Jimmy wrote about their experiences living in America as a Black woman and man. They were known all over the world, but when they were home in Harlem, they were just two friends sitting at the kitchen table, talking, debating, and loving each other. Maya believed in Martin's vision. She organized a musical revue called Cabaret for Freedom and donated all of the money to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference to support Dr. King's dream. Their friendship was an anchor, kept them steady, kept them trusting that a change was going to come. Freedom was coming soon. 1962. Accra, Ghana, another place Maya called home. In Accra, home was making kenkey and pepper sauce and fried fish. Home was becoming fluent in Fanti. Home was teaching at the University of Ghana and penning articles and essays for local magazines. Home was learning from scholar W.E.B. Du Bois. Home was having friends over for elaborate dinners and talk about the happenings in Africa and North America. Home was making new friends and welcoming old ones. Home was preparing a feast for Malcolm X when he visited. Home was sitting with Malcolm and listening to his new vision, his plan to start the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Maya loved living in Ghana, but she wanted to be part of Malcolm's movement. She decided to leave Ghana and return to the United States to join Malcolm. Maya knew that home was never one place with one kind of people. Home was any place her voice could be heard. Home was any place there was love. February 21st, 1965. When Maya arrived in the States, she made plans to see Malcolm, but before she could, he was assassinated. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes darkness comes. Maya held on to Malcolm's words. Maya, you can communicate because you have plenty of soul, and you always keep your feet firmly rooted on the ground. Maya knew Malcolm believed in her, and she would keep on and on. April 4, 1968. Sometimes bad things happen. Sometimes darkness comes. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated on Maya's birthday. Coretta lost her husband. 4 children lost their father. The world lost a leader. Maya no longer had her friend. Maya no longer had her joy. Maya no longer had her voice. For 5 days, Maya didn't leave her house. For 5 days, Maya couldn't speak. Rising. Jimmy refused to let Maya keep her words inside. He took her to a friend's house for dinner. After dinner, the guests gathered around Maya and listened to her tell stories about growing up in Arkansas. Every time one story ended, they asked for another. Maya's stories were so good, and editor, Bob Loomis, asked if he could publish them. The world needs to hear your story. No one can tell it like you. Maya started writing her story down. She titled her first book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She wrote about all the joy and the sad times. She wrote about all the cities she called home. She wrote about her family and friends who were no longer alive to tell their own stories. She carried them with her every time her pen touched paper. She was writing her story and their stories too. Good morning. A cool, crisp day, the sun a light glow. Maya's words echoed across oceans, blasted out of radios and televisions, and hung over Washington, D.C. sky. Give birth again to the dream. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. It was the inauguration of President Bill Clinton. He loved Maya's books and poems, and he asked her to write a special poem for the nation. Maya was the first woman and the first Black person to be given this honor. Nearly 30 million people listened to her poem on the pulse of morning. Maya's mama was right. Maya was a preacher, a teacher, a Black girl whose voice chased away darkness, ushered in light. Free Bird. Maya wrote her story in the form of autobiographies, poems, and songs. She performed in movies and plays and gave lectures in many countries. No holding her head down, no hiding, no more silence. She didn't have the pitch-perfect voice others had, but she had her songs, her stories, and she alone was enough.
When I come home, baby, please let me lay down and rest.